Welcome back to another week here of the Whiskey Gingers podcast. This week, it's not just whiskey, as you can tell. We have whiskey in a can? No, sir. It is a.
What a clever idea. That actually might be on something there.
I think you just lost a lot of credibility in the community. But this is the one and only Philadelphia's own Grab a Kenny Kenwood original. It's a better light beer. It's not, we don't do any, conglomerates, no big corporations here. We're about the little guy. We're about small business here. And Kenwood has been keeping Philadelphians drunk for years now, but especially they've been putting in work around probably the last 8 months. I mean, they were here for us for the Phillies. They were here for us with the Union. The Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl, and Kenny has been with me every step of the way. So we wanted to give Kenwood a shout out, and Chris has never had one, believe it or not. Hi, Corey. How are you? The cat hasn't had any either, so we might visit that. But we are going to have Chris's first Kenny right here, and we're going to mix it with a whiskey because at one point when we were a proper country, a shot in the beer was pretty much expected.
Yep.
Now you're hard-pressed to find any.
Very cool.
Nothing better than cracking open a Kenny.
Grab a Kenny.
Grab
Cheers
a Kenny.
to you, buddy.
Here's to you.
That is a substantial light beer.
It's a regular old light beer, but it doesn't taste like creek water.
You know what? It actually has flavor because that's my biggest thing about light beer is I don't really want a light beer if I just feel like I'm tasting water. And in this case, it tastes like an actual beer.
Yeah, like Bud Light, Miller Light. What's the other one? Michelob Light. Michelob's the closest thing to water with alcohol in it, I'm convinced.
It's just, I think that's Coors, but probably they might be competing.
They're in the same boat. Either way, it's not somewhere you want to be. This is a light beer that you can say you like Kenwood and then be able to tell people why, because it has its own flavor to it. If someone tells me, "Oh, dude, I love Miller," I'm like, "Doesn't it taste like Coors? Doesn't it taste like Bud? Doesn't it taste like everything else?"
Yeah,
this has a uniqueness to it.
I love the can, and I also love the catchphrase, "Just grab a Kenny."
Grab a Kenny.
I just feel like that could catch on. I'm sure it has catched on. I'm apparently living in the dark here because I had never heard of this, but you had. But then again, I also didn't live in Pennsylvania forever, so maybe that's why I missed out on an opportunity here. But I would definitely get this again.
Yeah,
I like it.
You really can't get them too many places. I had to go to the Foodery. Shout out to the Foodery in Phoenixville. 30 cases of beer. They had 2 of these. So Kenwood, if you're listening, and I know that you are, we're going to need a little bit more out here in Chester County. We're running low on Kenny's.
Yeah, this is a fate that we got the last 2.
Yeah, it was
Certainly,
meant
to be reviewed.
But nevertheless, we wanted to mix this in with our first beer and a shot, and it's a good time for it. Kenwood just tweeted back at me, so I wanted to show them a little bit of love in return.
That's amazing.
Got 2 retweets, no big deal.
Yeah, no biggie. Interaction, we love it.
Exactly.
Also joining us today is going to be Cutty Sark, I guess it's called. It's a blended Scotch whiskey.
Even spelled fancy, it's Scots, not Scotch.
Yeah, Scots with 1 T, not 2 T's.
Yeah.
Isn't it usually 2 T's?
I think 2 T's is like the lawn fertilizer.
I'll give it. It could be. That could be true. So I'll give it a little view. Outside of that, this was actually a gift that you guys gave over to me, and it's from Brandon.
This is a re-gift.
From a re-gift. So we're definitely going to enjoy this. We had brought this up on last week's episode, I believe.
We might have mentioned it. This was supposed to be, for those of you who follow our Twitter intently, this was supposed to be for the New Year's Eve spectacular, but we all got a little too drunk a little too quickly, and the podcast didn't quite happen. So we're having it now.
Yep.
And better late than never.
So we are spoiled in the sense that we've already had this. But to be fair, that night may not be as remembered as it could have been.
This ranges anywhere from... Chris, you might not want to drink this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this might not be a good idea. This could be my inheritance. This might have been a way for someone to give me a little bit of inheritance money. I know this is horrible TV right now if you're watching this, but if you look online, which I am, this bottle in particular goes for $211.
So we're actually blowing the Whistle Pig out of the water because we had the Whistle Pig, which was like a $90 bottle last week. This is like tripling that amount.
Yeah. So what's interesting about it, and like I said, this is brutal if you're watching this, but there's I'm looking on Google, and I'll show Chris. You can see the different kinds of bottles.
Yeah.
So this has it's bright white,
Mhm.
bright neon, bright yellow, bright neon, bright yellow, around $33.99.
Yeah.
You get to this exact bottle where it's that older midnight green, the paper logo
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the sailing ship.
Mhm.
It's $211.
Whew.
I'm not the smartest guy. This could be an imposter bottle, might be $33, but it
Yeah.
looks identical to the one that's $210.
You know what? Let's see if it's 210 worthy.
I didn't come into this expecting that, so my whole rating system's thrown off.
I think that we would have been better off looking after the fact, because then I feel like you have an inherent bias now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more confused than anything. Even when you look it up, I'm on winesearcher.com. It says they fluctuate from $22 to $280.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out what the difference is, and I'm having a hard time.
Your glass is nice and cold.
It's regarded as it's recently been regarded as a mixing scotch rather than the top shelf whiskey that it once was. I just don't know which bottle we have.
By appointment to Her Majesty the Queen, wine and spirit merchants.
That feels old.
Who knows? All I know is it's going to taste good.
I think.
So,
Or, apparently the new ones don't.
like I said, we've had it, but we just probably don't remember much about it because that was quite the night on New Year's Eve.
That's true. Well, here's the science.
Yep. Cheers.
I'll say this.
$200 worth?
No. I wouldn't pay $211 for that. I also don't think it's a mixing whiskey, though. I think it's above that.
No, definitely, yeah.
But it's absolutely not $200.
I guess it depends on your thoughts, too, because it is a blended scotch. So maybe you aren't, super in love with scotch. I know you like Irish whiskey, so...
Yeah, that could be.
How many, how much
get
scotch do you drink on the day-to-day?
I want to get a date on this thing.
You were going to be so infatuated by that bottle in particular.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to know if I'm down talking expensive whiskey or if we were
Or if it's
duped.
just a 30. It could be. Who knows?
Granted, I didn't pay for this, so, I guess duped is a strong word. But
all I think is that I agree with your point. It's good. I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing that we've had by any means. But you could definitely put it in a glass and have some.
it is from London. Our tag is listed as the Barry Bros and Rudd from London.
Okay.
So this bottle in particular doesn't seem like it came in a case to fine wine and good spirits.
It might not have.
We'll have to do some research. We do know we're still on speaking terms with people who gave it to us, so we might have to ask and see what the backstory on this is.
We will do research.
I'll do a little digging.
We'll do research and we'll get back to you.
It was my grandmother's father's whiskey.
Grandmother's father's
So
whiskey.
my great-grandfather's, who died shortly after I was born.
Do we know when he bought it?
This is
Presumably, right before you were born, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
all right. I think this is a nerd episode, but I'm into this now.
If that's the case, if that's her great grandfather's whiskey, and he passed away around the time that Emily was born, that's an old bottle of whiskey, regardless. He must have bought it before he passed.
Yeah, at the very least, it is maybe 24 years old.
Okay.
Wow.
So here's I'm reading this on whiskeyid.com, and they teach you how to find out without an exact date what your glass is. And most bottle manufacturers mold into the bottom of the bottle a 2-digit format, often in the lower right portion. This will usually tell you within a year or two when your whiskey was bottled. Often separated, generally the first 2 digits refer to the liquid bottle permit number and will denote the company and factory that it was manufactured.
There's a couple things on here.
So they phased this out in the 80s. So if it's on there, it is at least from the 80s.
Well, there's a couple numbers on here. So there's 55
Okay, so that
by itself. And then it shows you it's 750 milliliter. And there's a 3 on it.
55 came from, so the bottle came from Owena, Illinois.
There's also something that looks like SO or SD 184.
I don't know what that means. On 184?
It looks like it says SO 184. So I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, and these don't have dates, just where it came from. But
Well,
either
we're
way,
gonna assume that bottle itself is at least 20 years old.
the fact it's
which is
on
pretty
there means it's
impressive.
from the 80s.
Yeah,
So
That's pretty
Cutty's
cool.
are- yeah, that's
that in itself is cool because I don't know if I've ever had a bottle of whiskey that's that old per se.
me either. Yeah, there's no way the bottle would not be. Yeah, there's no way to find out for sure.
Well,
But-
we'll do our research and
Yeah.
we'll get back to you guys. This could be the most interesting thing that we have a review on here, based on the situation.
Probably the most educated so far.
Probably the most educated. We're getting educated while we're doing the podcast.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's.
That's
really
going to irk me
impressive.
for the remainder of this. But we'll move on. The show goes on.
Exactly.
Um,
Where do you play? Are we even going to bother placing this? Like, do you feel like it's even in the top 5 for you?
I think you're right. I think we should place it now. That way, we're placing it on how it actually tastes, not the prestige.
I don't care
around it.
what the price of it is. I mean, like, to me, a bottle of whiskey that's $30 could be better than a bottle that's $100.
For me
if
right
it's the
now,
right bottle.
I don't. For me right now, I don't think it's a top 5.
You don't think it's top 5? I think it's. I think you're right. I think if it's not in a top 5, it's within my top 10.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had not that much more than 10, but I would say it would definitely belong in the top 10.
yeah. It's definitely not bad. I mean, it has its own. It very much has its own flavor.
Yeah.
I can't compare it to. We haven't had a Scotch either yet.
Well, being a blended Scotch is a little bit weird because
Yeah.
I do enjoy certain regular Scotches, but being a blended Scotch, it's just like being a blended any other whiskey. You kind of get a weird flavor profile that you may not be expecting.
It's got a little bit of sweetness to it, but it definitely burns a little bit more on the back end than you would expect it to. But that's that's the Scotch part of it.
What does the Scotch thing that I always notice where I feel like bourbon hits you right in the front. As soon as you put bourbon in your mouth, you're getting, that bourbon oaky burn as soon as you put it in your mouth. With Scotch, it goes down smooth, and like 10 seconds later, you get all the flavor and all the burn with Scotch. So it kind of sneaks up on you. It's a little bit weird. But that's kind of one of the things I like about Scotch. It's kind of, you take a sip of it and you think, what is this going to be like? And it's kind of rolling the dice.
Exactly. I'm going back and forth between the two now. If this turns out to be a historic bottle, I'm going to get crucified in the online community. But it is what it is.
Yeah, well, we already opened it even before this, so they'll double crucify us because now we're almost halfway done with it.
That's true. This was a new bottle. We started it.
So, that is fair. I mean, like, I don't know. Do we have much more? I feel like the mystery of it is kind of where we leave that off because we don't know. And once we find out, we'll be able to give more information. But I think we're just going to have to leave it up in the air.
I feel like we're on Pawn Stars, like where Rick Harrison goes. I got a guy for that.
Yeah, I got a guy for that.
Is that a mammoth tusk? I got a guy.
And then they come in and they go, this ranges anywhere from $30 to $5,000. Where could it be?
They always cut them off at the knees too. It's like, oh, this is an original Paul McCartney, pick from Woodstock, whatever. And I was like,
yep.
I mean, it's probably only worth what Rick, like $350. Yeah, probably only worth like $350.
I think my favorite part of that, like those scenes, is when the person that's trying to sell it is sitting there sweating bullets.
I know.
Because the expert is about to say what they want, and they'll walk in and they'll be like, "Yeah, I want $5,000 for this," and the expert will be like, I'm thinking it's around $4,500.
But that expert's also on Rick's payroll.
Yeah,
So it's like,
exactly.
I'd be walking in with my own expert. The fact no one's done
Go
that.
in there with this bottle, it could actually be as rare as it says. You bring it into him, and he'll say, "Best I could do is $30."
Yeah. And then I bring like Johnny Whiskey in, and he was like, no, this is one of the best things
$500
ever. Yeah.
bottle of whiskey.
So that's just a superstition on my part. But we are talking about superstition-esque things, fears, phobias, concerns.
I think this is just generalized weird ideology that people have in their own brain. What brought it up? I was telling Brandon, one of my cousins has this fear that he doesn't leave his toothbrush in the bathroom because he thinks that he's going to get poo particles on his toothbrush. And I don't know if that's like a totally ludicrous thing. Everybody leaves their toothbrush in the bathroom. And I guess like your toilet, it's water. So like doesn't water trap particles anyway? So that would kind of make sense. But who knows? Maybe there's some research into it. I don't know.
That's the idea behind toilets, I'm pretty sure. It's supposed to like mask scent and
exactly. I mean, if you have just like a hole in the ground, you're going in that, then I'm sure particles come through that. And I I know that's the way that it is in some parts of the world, but like
What
here it's not.
the Netherlands? I was in Amsterdam.
Did you have to do a squat, or was there like at least a
No, so
toilet
there's a
seat?
proper toilet there, but the way it's set up, like ours goes straight down into water.
Yeah.
This one has a shelf
Okay.
and then water.
So how does that work? Do you have to like scrape it into the water?
Well, when you
Or is
flush it,
on like
there's still a water
slant?
stream when you flush it, but if it doesn't get it on the
Mm.
first go around, you got to sit there. They tell me it saves water, but it only saves water if you're willing to be the guy that just leaves one there.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. That sounds pretty disgusting.
It's
That
mortifying.
sounds like a porta potty on a hot day.
Nothing
That's what
worse.
that sounds like.
You're at a concert in July. You're sitting there going, "How bad do I really need to go?"
Well, the best part about being a guy is that you could just like walk behind and pee behind the porta potty,
Oh yeah.
which is always good. But when you're a girl, you're kind of screwed, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen some things over in Camden. They find a way.
Depends what venue you're at.
Yeah. If you're at a highbrow establishment, then sure. If you're in the lawn at BB&T Pavilion, it's open season out there.
Open season. So I looked up a couple other things that were interesting to me on the same topic of just weird phobias or weird ideology that people have towards things. And one thing that we read before this that makes a lot of sense is when I eat food, I eat them in order of least liked to most liked. So the last thing I eat can taste the best. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Wait, is it most like to least like?
So they eat least liked
No.
first to most
Backwards.
liked. That way that they enjoy it. See, I agree with the way they said it. I'd rather eat what I want the most last.
Yeah, but what if you get there and then, like, because you don't enjoy your food as much when you're already stuffed.
That is true.
Like, it's a
That's
battle
fair.
at that point.
Mhm.
I start with the hits,
Mm,
and then if I don't get to the green beans,
it
I'm
is
gonna
what
be
it is.
okay. If I go green beans, mashed potatoes, and my fillet is half eaten, nah.
Do you, on the topic of food in that kind of way, are you the kind of person that separates your food so it doesn't touch?
100%.
Or does it not matter if it touches?
I will separate my food if at all possible. I'll still eat it if it touches. I'm not like, oh my god, these peas touch some, and
We
some
need to
things
get you
go
one of
well
those- we need
together.
to get you one of those kiddie plates that has like the multiple
Dude.
sections in it.
Hey, if they make those for adults, you can sign me up.
It's just a,
House.
Yes,
it's
Zoo Pals.
It's a zoo pal, but it's just a white plate.
They were on to something. They just didn't go far enough to the adult market.
That's hysterical.
But like, there's stuff that does get combined. Like, I think putting like peas in
Mhm.
my mashed potatoes,
Yeah.
big move.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything can go mashed potatoes and stuffing. But like, if I have something like, sometimes we'll do applesauce.
Mhm.
Like back when I was a kid, anything that touched was see you later.
I think for me, I'm a big fan of eating. I don't eat things in sections. So like if I have like, let's say like you said, a steak, mashed potatoes, and green beans, I don't eat one thing at a time. I kind of just collectively pick from each section, and I don't really care if they touch. But like
Yeah.
for me, it's like I'll have a bite of steak and then maybe some green beans and some mashed potatoes because I feel like I want to get a little bit of everything, and I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I feel like I missed something. But to your point, the steak is definitely getting eaten to completion before any of the other things are. But I do like to mix and match a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not going to go straight steak only in the beginning,
Yeah.
but it's going to be mixed in because
Yeah,
you figure if I'm paying like 34 today's economy, like $34 for
Mhm.
a good steak,
$34 for a steak.
you're probably in that ballpark. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying, man, 28 of that is the steak. I mean, they have potatoes in vats back
Yeah,
there. I mean,
yeah.
green beans, like I'm getting what I paid for. I
Those
have green
peanuts.
beans at home.
Those heinous crimes of how they mistreat mashed potatoes in restaurants.
Yeah. I have one I was thinking of on the way over here. And are you somebody who so when you set up your room, like your bedroom to sleep in,
Mm-hmm.
I have to be facing the entrance point. Like I need to know what's going down. Like if someone comes in, I got to be
That's a multi-level topic that you're bringing up.
locked
So-
in. Like,
So I tend to agree with you. I think like most people probably put their bed facing the door, and I think I've heard at some point there's like that feng shui thing with that. Like there's
mine's survival.
there's a reason why people want to orient the room in some way. But I agree with you. I think like being able to face the door and seeing a threat coming in definitely makes people feel more comfortable.
Oh God,
And I think that's why people in like restaurants and stuff like that,
that doesn't bother me.
There's people that only want to look at the door. And I'm
Those
sitting there
people
and
are witness
it's like,
protection, Chris. That's why they're doing that.
either that or they're running from the law
Yeah.
or something. Who knows? But
They're
there's
waiting for the
certain-
alphabet boys to come get them. bunch of windbreakers and a flashbang.
There's certain people that really just don't want to be like their backs turned to a potential threat, I guess. And you're gonna live a really lonely life when your back's up against a corner all the time, I guess. But
yeah, like if you live on the edge of survival like that, like that's exhausting.
would you want to be on the run? Like, do you think that you could handle the pressure? Or do you think you would like crack down and just give yourself up? If you're like on the run from the law or something, do you think that you would just give yourself up, or do you think you could like last for a long time?
I think I got a while in me.
Yeah.
I also don't think it would take a while. Like, I'm not going to be the person who's like, look, I love America, but if I'm on the lam from like the FBI, CIA, what have you, I'm going to like
anywhere else.
Yeah, like any country without extradition.
Yeah.
I'll make it. I'll survive in the favela of Brazil or something if I need to. At least there I got a shot and they can't take me back.
That's fair.
But I wouldn't go on the run here. There's too many cameras. Everyone's watching. Like, I'm going to...
That neighbor Judy is just going to rat you out, you know?
I mean, dude, anytime anybody commits a crime, like, there's like 17 different Ring camera angles. They have your social security number in 3 minutes.
Dude, Ring camera videos have to be the most hysterical thing of, like, people dropping their fast food and stuff as soon as they get home, or, like,
fall down the stairs.
Slipping down the stairs when it's cold out. I could watch people falling down their stairs on Ring doorbell cameras for hours. I think it's the most hysterical thing.
It's pure comedy. Or the ones you see where, like, people are bringing their, like, buddies home from the bar, and they just sit him on the front porch and leave. It's like, all right, I brought him this far.
That's what we
Good
do.
luck.
That's what we do to Jeff when he's being bad.
After Jeff has 1.5 IPAs.
We could joke because he doesn't watch the podcast.
Apparently not. Yeah, we recently saw Jeff, and we asked him if he noticed anything about the production. He's like, well, I actually haven't, which means he doesn't watch.
He doesn't watch it.
Or watch the whole thing, at least.
We'll have him on. He'll watch that episode, I'm sure. Although he might not, because I don't think he likes himself on camera.
No.
And the one time that we had him here, I think we caught him totally off guard, and that's why he even allowed it in the first place, because I don't think he thought he was going to be on camera.
Yeah, we ambushed him.
We ambushed him, which is the best way to get your friends to do things that they don't want to do, is to ambush them violently.
Absolutely, which is why you sleep facing the door.
Exactly, agreed.
I don't need somebody snooping in with like piano wire and taking me out in the middle of the night. I will pass on that.
I'm going to pass on this next one because that's a little bit too much.
In the meantime, while you're scrolling, I got another one. This is a little bit of both. This is a little bit of like phobia and a little bit, I guess, like etiquette at one point. Do you pay attention to where you're walking on the sidewalk? Like, so apparently
I'm
it was
always
like
on the right side of the sidewalk. Just like in a mall, I'll always walk on the right side of the mall. And I'll always, like wherever there's a situation where there's two ways of traffic,
you treat it like a
on
road,
right? Because I treat it like the road.
Okay.
And when people don't treat it like that, it
Drives
gets
me
me
crazy.
absolutely aggravated because they know that it's supposed to be the right.
There's no law against it. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but when I see it happen, I'm like, who raised you?
Yeah, I agree.
You
Were
walk-
you raised in a barn?
Yeah, like you walk with the flow of traffic, and and then there's another one while we're on walking. And this is more the etiquette side. I was recently told by somebody at work that, like, if you're out walking with your significant other, you're supposed to be on the traffic side. I guess at one
that
point
way you get hit and die.
At one point, it was chivalrous to be like, well, at
Yeah.
least I'm gonna be the one that gets like run over.
I think that if a car is coming that close to the sidewalk, you're both gonna die. So
That's my reasoning. I like to think that too.
I don't know. Who knows?
Plus, I mean, somebody should carry on her legacy? Who better than you?
Oh man,
I
that
would say the same thing about you.
that life insurance policy is looking awfully good.
I think that's actually it. You figure out who has the highest policy.
Yep. Whoever has the higher policy,
You walk on the street
is
side.
walking on the street side.
You're the sacrificial
Yep.
lamb.
I'm sorry, it just has to be that way. We've planned this out.
I ran
This
the
is a
numbers.
fallback plan.
All right, what do we got?
This one is totally. I do this myself. The car radio has to either be on an even or an odd number volume.
Yep. Same with TVs.
Yep. Same with TVs. I totally agree with that. Which one's yours? Is it even or is it odd?
Evens.
Evens?
Odd is just.
Odd.
Yeah, but you just live a cluttered lifestyle. Like if your TV's on 27,
You're a psychopath.
yeah, like the whole house is probably in disarray.
That actually, this was a quick one. That brings me up to something really funny that Morgan told me one time.
Mhm.
She told me that if somebody yawns and you don't yawn back, there's a psychological study that's been done that apparently says you're a psychopath. Because
Really?
apparently people yawn in sympathy when other people yawn. It's like a group activity. And there was like an episode of Mythbusters about this years and years ago. And they tried to do a study to see like if I yawn, you would feel compelled to yawn.
I thought it was like a science thing. I didn't know it was
And
like a
I don't
sympathy
know.
thing.
I
thought
don't know.
like
I don't know what it is. But point being, if you apparently don't yawn when somebody else yawns, it's a sign of being a psychopath because you don't relate to humans the
you
same
have no
way.
sympathy. At
Yeah,
that
you have
point.
like no sympathy at that point. So
Huh. I'll have to start watching all my friends now. Anyone who doesn't yawn when I yawn is cut off immediately.
Yep,
But they won't know it. We'll be friends.
Yeah,
I don't want to be on the list.
I'll never yawn in your face again.
Yeah.
What else we got? We got a good one. One was a good one that I saw before. It was, do you measure time in songs? So, like, if you're driving somewhere and you're like, oh, I'm 20 minutes away, that's like approximately like 5 songs or something.
I guess I kind of do. Like, but not to where it's like, oh, this many songs. It'll be like if I'm going somewhere, it's like, is it worth me putting on a podcast or is it a song drive? Like anything 40 minutes or over is a podcast drive.
Gotcha.
If I'm just kind of bopping around town, it's a song kind of drive.
I get that. I think I agree with you. I think that would make sense. I think that what's really funny about that conversation is I remember being in school because, like, God forbid you hate like when you're in school.
Yeah.
And back in like high school and shit, I used to remember counting. I used to break hours into intervals.
Oh, that's different.
To make time go faster in my brain. So I'd be like, oh shit, this is like an hour and a half long class. And then I'd be like, all right, well, let's sit through the first half hour and let's break it into 10-minute segments. And after 10 minutes, I only got 2 more of these 10 minutes to go. And then I would break down the next hour into 2 half hours and I would do the same thing again. And that was probably in reality making it way worse because I'm like hyper fixating on time. But like an hour and a half in class when you're like 16 feels like 5 fucking hours. It feels like it takes forever.
Dude, I do that in my day job like all the time. Like, 'cause I'll take lunch around 1. So when it's 11 or so, I'm like, all right, if I work really hard for an hour and then I take a half-hour break, then all I need to do is kill a half hour, and then it's lunch. And I get back from lunch at 2, and I'm done at 5. So I'm most of the way there. Yeah. Meanwhile, I've been at work for 3 hours out of my 8-hour shift. But in my head, we're at the finish line.
That's a nice thing about my job because, like, since we're installing and everything, time just flies by. Like, it's almost seen more as, like, the project is almost done. You look at the time, and you're like, holy shit, it's been, like, the whole day already. We better hurry up and get this thing done.
Yeah.
But I always thought that was interesting. I think we got time for, like, maybe 1 or 2 more of these.
Did you sometimes feel like when you were in school that those half days would feel longer than full days? Because I would walk into the building looking at, like, figuring days over. Like, when it was a full day of school, I was hopeless until around 1, and then you started seeing the light. A half day, I was like, oh, it's almost over. It's almost over the whole time. And
I tend to agree with you. I think for me, like, my favorite year was my senior year because I got to leave early because I completed, like, enough credits to be able to get to that. Yeah. So I had a free period at the end of the day, and I had electives my whole second half of my day. I went to lunch, and then everything after that was electives, and then I went home. So it was just like, hey, let's go play with twigs and architectural design, and you like make popsicle houses and shit. And then you go to like another class where you're working in the studio on the computer, and then all of a sudden you go home. Yeah, so I was like, all right, this is cool.
Dude, those shop classes were so fun. Yeah, almost no one does it anymore, but I remember we had a drafting class, which was like 3D design. Then we had like a shop class. We would just make Pinewood Derby cars all the time.
This is something similar. Somebody posted something on this forum about basically the same thing we were talking about before. They said, I think of an emergency escape plan for every room building I walk into for a variety of situations. Public shooter, terrorist attack, natural disaster, etc.
The only thing I do that with is movie theaters.
Where are you going to go? There's only 2 emergency exits and 2 regular exits.
That's 4 ways out.
What if they have them all blocked? Then you just die?
I mean, I'm going to go down with a sword in my hands.
We're going to get flagged again.
Yeah, that's true. We did get flagged last week for, I don't know, last episode for I don't know what. But
you mentioned the T word, Trump, and that was...
Oh, now I got to go. I petitioned Twitter to unflag it, but it took me a long time, dude.
I don't think they ever even did. To be honest, it still says there's sensitive content on the video.
Yeah, which, by the way, Elon, you got a couple of emails from me I'd like you to look at.
Yeah, please do.
But they said, they was like, oh, we removed the flag. We were wrong. Well, no one watched the episode, man. We're struggling enough as it is.
All right, this is the one we're going to end off on this topic because I think that everybody can relate to this. They said, I can't go to sleep without first flipping my pillow to the cold side.
I don't.
You don't do that?
I just go to bed.
I like the cold side.
Yeah.
If I could have a pillow that was infinitely cold all the time, I would sleep like a baby.
But like, well, they have that. They
What?
have like cold pillows.
Do they?
Yeah, it's like a cold memory foam. It's really cool. It sounds better in your head than it really is.
I want like just air.
It's got a smell to it.
I just want air conditioning in my bed at all times, and I'm sure they have something that does something similar to that too.
They do.
But I just need it to be like insanely cold all the time.
Oh man, there's a brand that it's called. It's like purple.
Oh, the ones.
You
that
know what I'm
breathe,
talking
I know
about?
what
Where they
you're
have like
talking
it's like
about,
everything's a grid.
yeah.
I went in there to look at a pillow just to kind of treat myself.
Mhm.
What do you think a pillow goes for at one of those places?
My pillows were about $3 a piece because I get them from Walmart.
$178 a pop. $178. $178 per pillow.
This bottle of whiskey is more expensive than that pillow.
It might be.
But most pillows are definitely not that expensive.
Yeah, like I know we have my pillow. We got the
Oh, you got the fancy My Pillow?
leftover
MyPillow.com.
racist specials. But you know,
Flagged.
he got canceled. They
Flagged.
they put it in Ollie's and we bought them.
Mm.
And you know what? I sleep just fine. A little bit of guilt, but a lot of sleep.
Sleep better knowing he's in person.
Yes. I like knowing Mike Liddell's behind bars somewhere.
Oh my god.
Man knows his way around.
Shout out to Ollie's if you want to send us a promo and sponsor us a little bit.
I have some pride. I can't be asking Ollie's for a promo.
It's basically a thrift store, but like an actual big box store.
I went in there and saw like an open thing of shampoo that they were trying to sell. Like
it was 5 years out of date.
It's real bad. Like
I'd
Ollie's,
rather shop at a
we're
Dollar
good.
General than an Ollie's.
No.
You don't think so?
No, dude. Look, don't get me wrong. Most of my house came from Ollie's and Bob's Discount Furniture, but we're above Dollar General. Come on.
When Morgan and I had our first apartment, we got our entire Christmas ensemble for the first year of Christmas we spent in there from Dollar General. We got a tree for like $25. It was a serious Charlie Brown tree with like 3 ornaments on it and a really dinky star. You could see straight through this thing like it was transparent because there's basically no like fake leaves on it.
Yeah,
it was insane,
dude.
But it worked.
Dollar General's like Saks Fifth Avenue. It's like when you get to rural Pennsylvania, there'll be nothing for miles, and then just like a beacon of light emanating from a Dollar General.
You know, an area is not good when you see multiple dollar stores within like a 1 mile radius.
Multiple dollar stores and anything with bars on the windows. The food's probably going to be phenomenal, but you get takeout. You get takeout.
Yeah,
maybe delivery if you can swing it.
All right, before we get canceled again, I think we should probably wrap up.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. We're diving into some dangerous waters here. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks. We'll have an update on Cutty Sark in between.
We'll either be really happy that we didn't open up a $200 bottle of whiskey or be really sad that we did.
I don't care, man. Like, whiskey's meant to be drank.
Agreed.
But all right, till then, cheers.
Thanks, guys.